Do you remember 2010, 2011? Back when smartphones were still new and every free moment, on the bus, at school, at work, was spent doing just one thing: pulling back a tiny red bird on a slingshot and smashing green pigs hiding in wobbly wooden towers. Angry Birds wasn't just a game. It was a global obsession. Kids were hooked. Adults were hooked. For a moment, it felt like the whole world had gone crazy over these angry little birds. But today, silence. No one talks about Angry Birds like they used to. No hype, no craze, no one more level before I sleep. So, what happened? How did a game that once ruled the world turn into a fading memory? This is the story of success, greed, and how not understanding your own empire can destroy it. By 2011, Angry Birds had become insanely popular. If you had a smartphone, you almost certainly played on it. Rovio, the company behind the game, rode that wave hard. Games, toys, even plans for movies. They were making millions of dollars. But there was a dark little detail behind all that success. The core idea of Angry Birds wasn't fully original. Back in April 2009, a game called Crush the Castle was released. In that game, you used a catapult to fling stones at wooden structures where enemies were hiding. Sound familiar? 8 months later, in December 2009, Rovio released Angry Birds. The concept was clearly inspired by Crush the Castle. But Rovio did what smart companies do. They didn't just copy, they improved everything. They added bright, cartoonish graphics. They gave us different types of birds with special powers. They made each level feel unique, with clever designs and satisfying destruction. They added a soundtrack you could recognize instantly, just from a few notes. On top of that, the scoring system was addictive. You didn't just want to finish the level, you wanted 3 stars, max points, and the perfect shot. And that tiny detail kept millions of people replaying the same levels over and over again, chasing a higher score. It was simple. It was fun. It was brilliant. Here's something most people don't know. Before Angry Birds, Rovio had made 51 other games. Not one was a breakout hit. Then came Angry Birds. Within just 2 months, it became the #1 paid app in over 60 countries. Rovio grabbed this opportunity with both hands. They started releasing new versions: Angry Birds Seasons, Angry Birds Rio, Angry Birds Space, Angry Birds Star Wars. They weren't just making a game anymore, they were building a franchise. Soon, Angry Birds became the best-selling paid app on the Apple App Store, with hundreds of millions of downloads. By the end of the first year, the game had already earned around $10 million. But the real money didn't just come from the app. Fans started asking for toys, so Rovio launched Plush Angry Birds. Within 4 months, they sold 60,000 soft toys. They also introduced microtransactions inside the game, like the Mighty Eagle, which let you clear an entire level instantly for a price. Celebrities like Justin Bieber promoted the game. Angry Birds was everywhere: t-shirts, lunchboxes, school bags, even themed designs on planes and parks. By 2011, Rovio's revenue hit around $100 million. The company grew from 28 employees to 224. Within months, the Angry Birds series reached 1 billion downloads, earning a Guinness World Record. By the end of 2012, their revenue had doubled again. The little red bird had turned into a money printing machine. But there was a problem slowly forming underneath all that success. The game was starting to feel the same. For more than 3 years, Rovio kept using the same basic formula. Same slingshot, same pigs, same style of levels. New skins, new themes, but the core didn't really change. Players didn't hate Angry Birds. They were just bored. The result? Profits fell by more than half. The game dropped down to number 59 on the App Store charts. The hype was dying. Rovio knew they had to do something new. At the end of 2013, Rovio released Angry Birds Go. It was basically a Mario Kart-style racing game with Angry Birds characters, and people loved it. Players said it was fun, fast, and great-looking. Professional reviewers gave it 7 out of 10. On Reddit, many fans called it their favorite Angry Birds game. Encouraged, Rovio tried more experiments. They made Angry Birds Epic, a turn-based RPG-style game. Critics liked it, players liked it. Many even said it was the best RPG Rovio had ever made. It seemed like Rovio had finally found a way to evolve Angry Birds into something fresh. But there was a catch. These new games didn't sell merchandise the way the original Slingshot game did. Toy sales fell. Total revenue dropped. In 2014, Rovio's profits crashed by 73%, down to around $10 million. They were forced to fire about 110 employees, around a quarter of the company. To stop the fall, they released Angry Birds Pop, a bubble shooter style game. But fans really didn't like it. On Reddit, when someone asked, "What's the worst Angry Birds game ever made?" many players answered, "Pop." So Rovio went back to the basics and released Angry Birds 2, the official sequel. But instead of a glorious comeback, fans saw something else. A game filled to the brim with microtransactions. Players complained, "This game is so greedy. It just wants money all the time. Even if you play well, if you don't buy gems, the game gets so hard you can't win." The charm and simplicity of the original were gone. Now it felt like the game was designed around payments, not fun. And yet, because it was so heavily monetized, Angry Birds 2 became Rovio's highest-earning game. But here's the twist. In that same year, Rovio still reported a loss of 15 million and had to fire over 200 more employees. From the outside, it looked like Angry Birds was dying. The magic was gone. The players were frustrated. The company was shrinking. Just when everyone thought it was over, Rovio pulled a surprise. Secretly, over 3 years, they spent 73 million making the Angry Birds movie. It was a huge risk. If it failed, it could have destroyed them. But it didn't. The movie had a fun story, a strong voice cast, and appealed to both kids and adults. With a budget of around $70 million, it earned over $350 million worldwide. The movie brought Angry Birds back into the spotlight. People started replaying the old games. Angry Birds. Themed theme parks opened. By 2016, many said it was Rovio's best year ever. But while the brand was rising again, the quality of the games was going down. YouTuber Jake Miller, in a video ranking all Angry Birds games, said that starting from Angry Birds Action, the first game tied to the movie, Rovio began designing new monetization systems that made the games less fun and more about squeezing money out of players. Many fans believe that was the beginning of the end. On Reddit, when people talked about the worst Angry Birds titles, a lot of them mentioned the post-movie games. Angry Birds Blast, basically a Candy Crush clone. Angry Birds Evolution, which many people called extremely boring. Even so, Angry Birds 2's revenue surged by 147% in 2018, giving Rovio enough money to make the Angry Birds movie too. But lightning didn't strike twice. Surveys reported by Forbes said many people thought the second movie was worse in almost every way. Critics on Rotten Tomatoes called it an inferior sequel, saying it felt more boring and less inspired. It still made a profit, around $82 million, but it didn't reignite the magic in the same way. While all this was happening, Rovio made a decision that many fans will never forgive. They quietly stopped updating their old classic games. Then, without any clear explanation, they removed the original Angry Birds and other classics from the App Store. People were furious. YouTube videos titled "Angry Birds is Dead" started popping up. Comments flooded in. Where are they? Why did you delete the original? On Twitter, the hashtag #YeBringBack2012 began trending. For many gamers, 2012 was the golden era of mobile games, and Angry Birds was at the heart of it. The backlash got so bad that Rovio had to apologize. They said maintaining the old games at a high quality was too difficult, so they removed them. After the backlash, they announced they would rebuild the classics. In 2022, they re-released the original game for $0.99, with no in-app purchases. But now it had a new name, Rovio Classics. Angry Birds. This tiny change created a big problem. People couldn't easily find it. Many fans felt this was deliberate. By making the classic harder to search, they could push players toward newer, more profitable games filled with microtransactions. Some players believed Rovio had started to hate the very game that made them famous because it didn't fit their new money-making strategy. Rovio later admitted that they changed the name because the classic game was affecting sales of their wider games portfolio. In other words, the old Angry Birds was too popular and it was hurting the profits of their newer games. Meanwhile, fans kept saying, "We don't want manipulative, microtransaction-heavy games. Just give us the old ones back." The situation got so bad that it looked like Rovio had almost stopped developing new major Angry Birds titles. Angry Birds Classic was the last big release since 2022. Then, in 2023, Rovio was sold to Sega. For many fans, this felt like the final sign that something had gone very wrong. The once independent studio behind the most iconic mobile game in history was now someone else's property. One recent tweet summed up the feelings of many longtime fans. "I still love Angry Birds, but the state of the franchise right now is awful. I'm thinking of muting everything about it. I still enjoy the parts I love, but it hurts to see what it's become." Even after all this, Angry Birds isn't completely dead. A third movie has already been announced, currently scheduled to release on December 23, 2026. Whether it will revive the franchise or just be another echo of past glory, that's something we still have to see. In the end, Angry Birds is one of the most successful game concepts ever created. It started from a simple idea, executed brilliantly, and turned into a global empire. But that empire didn't collapse because people stopped loving the characters. It collapsed because the people in charge stopped understanding the players. They chased short-term profit. They prioritized microtransactions over fun. They ignored the emotional bond players had with the original classics. Yes, they made a lot of money, but they failed to protect the most important thing, the trust and love of their audience. And that's the real lesson of Angry Birds. No matter how high you fly, if greed becomes your only strategy, eventually, even the strongest wings will fail.